So, to end our exploration of natural law, still continuing with Mark Passio's natural law slides, let's just look at how natural law expresses itself in our lives if we act according to natural law. As we said earlier, it all starts with consciousness, because our consciousness determines how accurately we perceive reality. So the higher our consciousness, the more often our perception meets with reality. The positive expression of consciousness is love. I mean, love is consciousness, or love is the force that expands consciousness. If you operate in love, you operate with an expanded consciousness. You have a higher perception of what is real. Therefore, you will be more likely to acquire knowledge, which is it's the initiating expression, how things start. If you have a higher consciousness, you'll be able to achieve knowledge, which is the acceptance of truth. The internal expressions of knowledge, of the acceptance of truth, will be because you aren't able to perceive reality accurately. You aren't able to acquire knowledge the way you are with an expanded consciousness. So it leads to ignorance, which is the absence of knowledge, which is the refusal of truth. And that then manifests chaos in reality, or manifested evil. And this is, to me, it's just so amazing. It's like a little table that just, shows you like nothing is black and white in this world. Do you want anarchy? Do you want monarchy? Like, I want internal, I'm basing this on what Mark Passio says, but like I want this too, so just don't want to claim this as my knowledge. I'm just saying, and it's also not Mark Passio's knowledge, by the way, it's just the truth. It's the truth. And if you want external order, you need to have internal monarchy. You need to be a ruler of your own emotions, of your thoughts and your actions. And your thoughts, actions, and emotions need to be aligned. That's internal monarchy. That's ruling yourself. That's what being a sovereign means. And you need to take that role or that responsibility, you need to accept it, because it is only yours to accept. And if you're an internal monarch, then we can have external anarchy. And by anarchy, I mean no rulers. I don't mean chaos. It doesn't mean chaos. It means no rulers. But you can only have that if each individual rules themselves. Otherwise, if they don't rule themselves, i.e. have internal anarchy, it will lead to external monarchy, because, somebody needs to rule people. That's why you get all the time when you tell people, you tell people about true freedom and anarchy, they'll be like, yeah, but have you looked at people? Have you looked at how people act lately? Yeah, I have, and it's wrong. And that's why it leads to the wrong external state of monarchy, or the wrong external state of there being rulers that tell individuals what to do and how to behave. Right, can in the language, it can mean two things. It can mean correct, but it can also mean moral. And that's not a coincidence, because say, you'd say like 2 + 2 is 4. You'd say, yeah, that is correct. But you can also say it's moral, because it is. It's just not in opposition to natural law. Correct means it's based in truth. Moral means it's in harmony with natural law. Incorrect is not based in truth, and moral is in opposition to natural law. Right actions do not result in harm to other sentient beings. Wrong actions result in harm to other sentient beings. A living being or their property must have been harmed in order for a violation of natural law or a wrongdoing to have taken place. Any action which does not cause such harm is right. In other words, no victim, no crime. When in doubt as to whether an action is or is not in harmony with natural law, visualize the scenario of a world with only 2 people. If the behavior is either a right or a wrong in that instance, it remains a right or a wrong in any size population, regardless of how many people may believe otherwise. And this is so important, because another great teacher I encountered by the name of Larkin Rose, he always brings up 5 questions to show the illegitimacy of authority. And the first question is like, can any group of individuals give a third party or another group of individuals a right that they don't have? And obviously they don't have that right because it's immoral, like say theft or murder. You don't have that right because it's immoral, so can you pass that on to another person? Of course you can't. And that's the thing. That's the whole underlying dilemma that we face as long as we have a state, is we recognize all of these things like theft, murder, extortion, as immoral on an individual basis. We would never force another human being to submit to our will, to our rule. We would never force them to do what we want. Yet we do that on a daily basis when we support a state. The action doesn't become moral. That's what this is about. It's like, if it's wrong between two individuals, it's wrong in any size population. Even if 99% of that population believe it's right. You know, if you truly understand your power, or if you truly understand what it means to be sovereign, you combine two things in your brain. It's the sacred feminine principle of non-aggression, and it's the sacred masculine principle of self-defense. Because that's when you can use force, is to defend yourself against somebody that, you know, violates a law against you. You are allowed to defend yourself and use force, even deadly force if need be in that instance, but only then. That's the sacred masculine principle. The sacred feminine principle is the non-aggression principle. That is what any anarchist, any serious anarchist understands, is that no rulers means a society in which people act on a voluntary basis, which requires the non-aggression principles to underlie our actions. If you combine these two, then you achieve what is known as ownership. You own yourself. You own yourself. No one else owns you. No one has any right to control you, and nobody has any authority over you. All of these things are illusions. Once your brain is balanced, it has balanced out the masculine and the feminine side, and you understand that non-aggression is a sacred principle, but self-defense is a sacred principle as well. And if you combine these two, then you have what is called ownership. Then you have realized you are a sovereign being. You own yourself. Nobody else controls you. Nobody else rules you. And then you also realize that all of natural law can basically be summed up with one commandment, so to speak, and that is don't steal. Because you can really explain every crime as a form of theft. When, you know, contemplating the 10 Commandments, which I always, you know, very early in my life, when that was kind of one of the first frameworks, or one of the first law frameworks I ever was confronted with, because I was raised in a Christian household. So when I saw the 10 Commandments and I started, you know, contemplating what they actually mean, I'm always like, yeah, but it doesn't include everything. For instance, it doesn't include don't rape. However, it's included in do not steal. Thou shalt not steal. Because you're taking something that is not yours. Whether it's the consent or whether it's another human being's body, you know, it's like, it is not given to you voluntarily, so you're stealing it. Taking somebody's life is the ultimate form of theft. You're literally stealing their life. So whenever you transgress against another person who owned themselves, you have no stake whatsoever in their life. All you can ask for is that they give you something voluntarily. That's all you can ever get from another person. So anything you transgress above, in excess of that, is a theft. So if you want to lead a moral life, don't steal. How do we exercise conscience? By freely choosing a right action over a wrong action once definitive knowledge of the objective difference between right and wrong according to natural law has been acquired. It should have become clear that freedom and morality are directly proportional. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. Another way of stating this law would be to say that the presence of truth and morality in the lives of the people of any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. True freedom can never exist in a society that embraces moral relativism. The idea that there is no inherent and objective difference between right and wrong. So, humanity may arbitrarily create or decide right and wrong for themselves. That's basically what moral relativists think. And that's why they have no problem with man-made law. Because they really think that's what right and wrong is. It's people in a given border agreeing on a certain set of rules. And that's right. It never even strikes them as funny that by crossing an invisible line, one thing that is immoral in one part can be perfectly moral in the other. Clearly that shows you that it's an arbitrary definition and cannot serve as a guideline for moral behavior. even just by saying there is no such thing as truth, as moral relativists do, they contradict themselves because they would thereby be making a true statement. So Mark Passio's conclusions here, right next to each other. Natural law is based upon principles and truth. You harmonize with natural law due to knowledge and understanding. It's universal, it exists and applies anywhere in the universe, regardless of location. It's eternal and immutable, meaning it exists and applies for as long as the universe exists and cannot be changed. Man's law, on the other hand, is based on dogmatic belief. It's just a construct of your mind. It's complied with due to fear of punishment. It differs with location, based upon the whim of legislators, i.e. moral relativism. And it changes with time based on the whim of legislators. So, again, moral relativism. In light of natural law, man's law is irrelevant and utterly unnecessary. And another interesting fact, just looking at some more words, is the word jurisdiction, which government claims it has. Juris is the Latin word for law, and the Latin verb dictere is to speak, to say. So jurisdiction literally means to say what the law is. That's why government needs jurisdiction, so it can say what the law is. But it's not up to government to say what the law is, because the law is inherent to nature. Anybody in government is as much subject to natural law as each and every one of them. So authority is an illusion based entirely in violence and built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue commands and others are slaves who have the moral obligation to obey the masters. If there's authority, there's slavery. Ultimately, authority is the idea that man can become God and through jurisdiction dictate the law. Maybe watch the Playing God chapter on that again. I go a bit more into that. Religion, as we also said in the beginning of the natural law seminar, it literally means to tie back, to hold back, to thwart from forward progress, or to bind. It's not a system of control based in unchallenged dogmatic belief, which holds back the progress of consciousness. There is only one true divide that separates humanity into two distinct types of individuals. The criterion for this divide is whether or not an individual believes in authority and therefore believes that there is legitimacy to slavery. That's it. Those are the main takeaways that I found important for this whole topic of natural law. I hope it whet your appetite to maybe research the topic more. Yeah, look forward to just now, maybe that we've got this out the way, just use these upcoming episodes to have, discuss everything that's going on in the world right now based on this knowledge. I would really look forward to that. Thanks for listening and have a great life.